like to offer my respects to each and every one of you. Hare Krishna. I'd like to say, my spiritual master, His Holiness Guru Prasad Swami, is here with us today. And he has been the GBC for Trinidad for a very long time. For many, many years. He's also the GBC for big areas like Mexico, Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, Venezuela. And he's now doing huge work in the Caribbean also too. So without further delay, I'd like to please introduce my spiritual master, His Holiness Guru Prasad Swami. So please.
Hare Krishna. Magyan Chakshurum Militan Chaitanya Manopishtam Kapitam Vakata Mahyam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prasad Vishesha Shurupati Paschatari Shatarini Hare Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Siyadvaita Gadadhara Shivakari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Very happy to see so many devotees here glorifying Lord Jagannath in this very special event of Snana Yatra. The Snana Yatra is one of Lord Chaitanya and one of Lord Jagannath's Leelas. Every one of the Leelas of the Lord has a particular purpose for his devotee. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Paritanaya sadhanam vinashayancha duskritam, that primarily and the only reason that Krishna comes, even Lord Vishnu, the only reason that Lord Vishnu comes is to protect his devotee. And the only reason that Krishna comes is to enliven his devotee. Srila Prabhupada explains in his lecture, which is part of the teachings of Queen Kunti, that how is it that Krishna apparently left Vrindavan, but Krishna never leaves Vrindavan? And Srila Prabhupada explains that he actually stays within the hearts of his devotees. And while he's in Vrindavan, in that particular form of enlivening the devotees, that's his only business. As Srila Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that Krishna, in his form of Krishna, Vrindavan Krishna, is always smiling, always happy, always playing his flute. When he has to kill a demon, when he has to do something other than just interacting in loving devotion with his devotees, then he takes the form of Vasudeva Krishna. So therefore the form of Jagannath is very special because he is Vasudeva Krishna remembering Vrindavan Krishna. So he's Vasudeva Krishna becoming Vrindavan Krishna, remembering himself and smiling in a very beautiful way. So the Snana Yatra is the opportunity. Of course, here we've shortened it a little bit. Usually it's 2 weeks now. Because the Lord, especially Lord Krishna, when he's meditating on Vrindavan, then his main Leela is Vrindavan. And he shows that in his pastime of Jagannath by only being 2 weeks with the goddess of fortune. And the rest of the time, he is actually in the mood of Vrindavan. He's smiling, he's remembering himself in Vrindavan. And for 2 weeks, he has to associate with the goddess of fortune, intimately in the chambers. So Srila Prabhupada explains in Chaitanya Charitamrita that the Lord, on this particular bathing ceremony, the Lord becomes a little ill. It's like we were using some very cool milk, so I'm sure that cool milk had a very cooling effect. And the Lord, then he develops a little fever. Of course, fever is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and in different literatures by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It's one of these symptoms of ecstasy. So the actual fever that the Lord is feeling is the remembrance of Vrindavan, his anticipation. Just like after Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi and their Rath Yatra, as we've heard many times from Chaitanya Charitamrita, from Srila Prabhupada, from different acharyas, that it actually commemorates Krishna being pulled back to Vrindavan by Srimati Radharani. So that means before the Rath Yatra, Krishna is in Dwarka. And that particular time when Krishna is in Dwarka, before he goes back to Vrindavan, is a very intense time for the Lord, where he is feeling fever. He's actually feeling, he's in a very feverish condition. So this particular fever that the Lord has now contracted, or as Srila Prabhupada sometimes would say, he's now contaminated. Sometimes Prabhupada uses that word, contaminated the fever of his desire to go back to Vrindavan. But, so he's with the goddess of fortune, but he's always thinking, how, now very soon I will go back to Vrindavan. When Krishna was in this particular mood, there was great concern. Actually, Sri Narada Muni, he came to Dwarka, and he himself was trying to figure out, well, he was on a quest of finding out who is the greatest devotee of the Lord. And by the time he came to Dwarka, he was actually examining the devotion of the Yadus, the Yadu dynasty. Of course, Uddhava, he expressed in his ecstasy of loving devotion to Krishna, he expressed to Vidura that actually I think that Kamsa is more fortunate than the Yadus. These are the symptoms of ecstasy. Sometimes there's some madness. How can anyone say that Kamsa is more fortunate than Uddhava? But Uddhava was thinking that way. He was thinking that actually at any point Krishna, this was after Krishna left, but previous to that, he was thinking that at any time, after he saw the love of the gopis, he was very fearful. He was thinking at any time if Krishna becomes aware of the condition of the Brajavasis, that he will immediately go back to Vrindavan and he'll never come back there. And therefore, all the residents of Dwarka, they were very, very cautious. They wanted to, when Krishna got into this mood of Vrindavan, there was great concern. So Narada Muni arrives, and he's speaking to the Yadus about the condition of the Brajavasis. He gets into a conversation. And then there's a big debate. Should Krishna go back to Vrindavan? And of course, many people are arguing no. No, he shouldn't. Especially Satyabhama. She's saying, what is so special about Vrindavan? That, in Vrindavan, we're just simple village girls. We're sophisticated. We are giving Krishna so many wonderful comforts that he would never have in Vrindavan. And then Rohini says, no, but actually, I think Krishna is very cruel and he must go back to Vrindavan, because who can understand the condition that he left everyone in? We've heard it from Uddhava. We've heard it from Balaram. They were right there. And Balaram came in and he said, yes, actually, when I was there, I promised him, because Krishna told me. He said, you go to Vrindavan, you tell them I'll be coming very soon. First he did that with Uddhava. Then he did it with me. So, you please, yes, Krishna must go. He must go. This is not fair to the residents of Vrindavan, because of course Balaram lived in Vrindavan. So he also, his mother is also Yashoda Mai, Rohini, and Nanda Maharaj. He considers him like his father. So he's very compassionate. Rohini was very compassionate. And then Kamsa's mother, she spoke up, Padmavati, and she said, why should Krishna go back to Vrindavan? No. They treated him so badly there. No. Just like every day they would send him out to take care of cows. Just a young boy, practically defenseless, sent out to take care of cows. And you know, his gopi friends were so concerned because his parents didn't even give him any shoes. So his feet were always getting stuck with stones. And then, on top of that, they didn't even feed him properly. And therefore he had to go and steal butter from so many different places. So, of course he shouldn't go back to Vrindavan. Why should he? Why do we owe? Actually, if there's anything to be owed to Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, then find out how much it is and we'll pay that amount. You know, we'll just send them some money. Western Union, no Western Union at that time. We'll send some money. But actually, I think that Yashoda and Nanda, they owe something to Krishna. So all these discussions were going on. And in the meantime, finally Krishna came out completely in a feverish condition. He practically was saying, yes, I've been very cruel. It's true. I should have gone back. But the reason I didn't go back is because there's so many things to do here. There are still some demons. There are still some demoniac, materialistic persons who I have to take care of. And therefore I can't go back. But actually, it is true. I've been very cruel. I've been very cruel to Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Mai, the gopis. And at that point, especially, then Rukmini, she started arguing speaking, not arguing. She never argues practically. She's very soft and gentle. So she was making her point with Rohini that if Krishna wants to go, let him go. If Krishna wants to stay, let him stay. But Satyabhama was arguing with her, no. Why should we let him go? All this argument was taking place, but Krishna was getting worse and worse. His fever was increasing more and more. So, finally, Narada Muni, he said, why don't we take him to Nava Vrindavan? Nava Vrindavan was a replica made by Vishwakarma of Vrindavan. Every detail of every Brajavasi was perfectly there, but they were statues. So they decided to summon Garuda and take Krishna. They put Krishna had fainted. They put Krishna on Garuda and they took him to the Nava Vrindavan. And when Garuda landed, they put him right beside Mother Yashoda. And so when Krishna woke up, Balaram was there nearby, and he saw Yashoda with some butter in her hand. And he was saying, oh, my mother, you're so kind. I've been so cruel to you. I left you, and you're still offering me butter. Well, why are you standing so still? Did I do something wrong? Maybe because you haven't seen me in so long. That must be the reason. That, yes. So he spoke some more. he saw Nanda Maharaj also standing there, thinking everybody is standing still. And then he went up to the gopis and Srimati Radharani. And he said, he greeted them, but they didn't say anything. So, no, you're also standing still. I don't blame you. I neglected you for so long. I can't blame you for this. So, then he started walking over to what he thought was the Yamuna. But then he thought, there's very strange waves in the Yamuna. Actually, it was the sea. And, because he was right on the seashore. These very, very strange waves coming in. And then he looked on the other side and he saw a big city. And he said, what is this? Where am I? Balaram. Of course, then Balaram explained, actually, my Lord, this is Dwarka. This is Nava Vrindavan. This is not the real Vrindavan. Because we have so many things to accomplish. So, my Lord, if we have all these things to accomplish, what can we do? No, we have to finish. Are you able now? Are you able to finish your pastimes in Dwarka? And so Krishna said yes. Of course, even then, even though Krishna said yes, from that point on, he was very, very, very affected by the thoughts of going to Vrindavan until, after killing Bandhavakra, then finally, at that point, he went back to Vrindavan. So, the Snanayatra is very special. Because in the Snanayatra, as we did, all the devotees get a chance to personally interact with the Lord. Of course, this is something more special even than in Jagannath Puri. In Jagannath Puri, not everybody gets a chance to bathe the Lord, but everybody gets a chance to touch the Lord. Actually, when he comes up on his cart, then a certain amount of devotees can come up and touch his transcendental body, and when he arrives at Gundicha, also the devotees can come up and touch his transcendental body. Even at that time, sometimes if the Pandits are in a good mood, they'll even let the Westerners do it. Sometimes, especially if you pay them, and they're more disposed. So, this particular pastime, Krishna is demonstrating that he is a person. Otherwise, he loves his devotees so much that he demonstrates the apparent frailties of a person. He becomes sick. He becomes very concerned about Lakshmi Devi and spends time with her. He becomes very desirous of going back to Vrindavan. He becomes very preoccupied with the thoughts of the residents of Vrindavan, especially after hearing from Uddhava and Balaram what a pitiable condition they are in. So, this is the person, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Jagannath. Krishna is always demonstrating how he is a person and how he is desirous of having a personal relationship with us. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri, he would stay most of the time in the Gambira, and his personal secretary, even before he stayed full-time in the Gambira, but sometimes he was sleeping there. So his secretary would always interview anyone that wanted to come and see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so there was one Bengali poet, and he came. He was a very strict Brahmana, and he thought he was a Vaishnava. He was thinking he was a Vaishnava. So he came to Gopinathacharya and some of the devotees, and he said, I've written a poem glorifying Lord Jagannath and also glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and I want to read it. I think that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will get great pleasure from this poem. And so they heard the poem and they thought, oh, this is very wonderful. Yes, you must present this poem to Mahaprabhu. And so they went to Swarup Damodar and they said, so this is a very wonderful poet. He's written a beautiful poem. We heard it. But immediately Swarup Damodar was reluctant. He said, my dear Gopinath, you're very liberal, Brahman. You're very liberal. And You want, everybody to get a chance. But to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can only see him with pure devotion. Just like we have the deities here. So many people can come and see the deity, but how many people can see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Many people can see the form, but the real form of Mahaprabhu, the real form of Jagannath, the real form of Krishna is revealed to us within our heart by the chanting of the holy name. Within the holy name, as Sri Jiva Goswami explains, there is form, qualities, and the pastimes of Krishna. So sometimes even, as we did here one japa retreat, hopefully we'll do another one soon. So in the japa retreat, we try to emphasize that actually it's through the holy name. Sri Sanatana Goswami says that actually the Lord reveals himself. He reveals his personal form, and he reveals our personal relationship to him through the holy name. And therefore it's very, very important to chant. And from that chanting, the holy name will come. And sometimes people ask, what about remembering Krishna's pastimes? So remembering Krishna's pastimes is very wonderful. Remembering Krishna's qualities is very wonderful. Remembering Krishna's form is very wonderful. But it's not an exercise of memory. To actually see Krishna's form. That form is there within the holy name. And Krishna wants to reveal it to us. But once we take the holy name into our heart, and we cleanse the heart of all misgivings, all problems, all difficulties, then the form of Krishna will manifest. The qualities of Krishna will manifest. Otherwise, we read about them, we memorize them, but this is an intellectual exercise. It becomes a reality in our lives. Such a strong reality that we can go from the point of anartha nivritti to nishta, otherwise from fighting with our material desires. This is the transition for a devotee. Our transitional period. We are attracted to Krishna. We're attracted to serve Krishna, but we're also attracted to the material world. So this is sakam bhakta. So actually, Krishna is trying to bring us to the point through the chanting of the holy name to nishta, where our faith is fixed, very strong. There's practically no deviation. And when that chanting becomes stronger, according to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we are honoring today also, when our faith becomes stronger, then Rati, Krishna actually begins to reveal his form. Otherwise we don't come before the deities in a ritualistic way, as we sometimes do. 7 o'clock. What time is the deity reading here? In the morning? No, reading deity. 7 o'clock. So we come 7 o'clock, sometimes like a ritual. We come, offer our obeisances, chant some prayers, and then go and do our business. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, especially after the Snan Yatra, when Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra were hidden away, Lord Chaitanya was so mad in separation that he had to go to Alalana. And he had to go and see some deity of Krishna. He had to go. And he felt so much ecstasy just by seeing Krishna that he melted the stone before the deity. And he was so desirous of seeing Jagannath, so desirous of associating with the Lord just by taking darshan. And sometimes we take darshan for 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Maybe we sit and chant 1 or 2 rounds and then off to. So that's anartha nivritti. But nishta and rati, when we actually have attraction for Krishna, just like Srila Rupa Goswami says, no jane janita kiyad viramritai Krishna varnadvai. Who can understand how much nectar there are in these 2 syllables, Krishna? To understand that, how do we know if I'm understanding this? Well, it's very easy. Tunde tandhavali, tim vitanute tandhavali labdaye. That when I feel the holy name dancing on my tongue, and I need to have many more tongues to do so. and Karna, Krodha. When through the ears the sweet nectar of the holy name enters, Kadambini Katayate, when that wonderful nectarian lotus-like sound vibration enters into my ears, Karnar Buddhibhyas Priyaha, then I need to have a minimum 10 million ears, minimum. And then Chetapangana Sangini. And then when the holy name begins to associate with me directly within my heart, then at that point, Vijayate Indriyanam Kutam, at that point, all of my senses become inert, and only the holy name is there. So when that happens, then you can understand I have some attraction for the holy name of Krishna. And when we have that attraction, then the form, then Krishna can reveal his form. We can actually see Krishna. We will see the deity. We will see Krishna. Just like when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Jagannath. He didn't see Jagannath. He saw Krishna playing a flute. He would see Jagannath, and then Jagannath would transform into Krishna playing his flute and smiling at him. That is the type of realization that Krishna is waiting to give us. If we can simply become a little bit absorbed in these pastimes, especially the pastimes of Snanayatra. When the Snanayatra was over, on the day of the Rath Yatra, on that particular day, they bring Lord Jagannath, before he leaves his temple, they bring him big, huge, more than ever quantities of prasad, of bhoga, so that he can take it. And at that time, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu couldn't wait anymore. So he requested that, can I please go and see Lord? No one's allowed to go in there. But at that time, the priests, they said, all right, you can go. You can go in. So Lord Chaitanya took some of his most intimate associates, and he entered into the bhoga room of Lord Jagannath. And while the offering was going on, Chaitanya was offering such beautiful prayers. And of course, when the Rath Yatra day came, the Lord offered many different prayers. First prayer he offered was recognizing Krishna. He recognized Krishna by saying, Namo Brahmani Devaya Go Brahmani Hitaya Cha Jagad Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. That here is Krishna, the friend and the protector of the Brahmins and the cows. He is the most wonderful, ecstatic, Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is giving pleasure to all of his devotees. And then he established his position. It was very interesting in that prayer he offers, a very long prayer, saying that he's not a Brahmana, a Vaishya, a Shudra, Kshatriya, Brahmachari, Sannyasi, Grihastha, Vanaprastha. But seeing the beautiful brilliance and the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he simply wants to be a servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis of Vrindavan, who are the servants of Krishna. So he says that. And it's very interesting because today is the appearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he wrote one particular book called Dasamula, where he explains the 10 esoteric principles of Krishna consciousness. So out of the 10 principles, he establishes the pramana, which is the truth, that the Vedas actually aim to show that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then, in 8 more verses, or 8 more explanations, he explains what is sambandha. How do we relate to Krishna? So the first thing he says, in relating to Krishna, he explains the omnipotence of Krishna. The fact that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is greater than anyone, he is omnipotent, and he is omniscient, he knows everything. And he is the fountainhead of all relationships, rasa parayana, the fountainhead of all relationships with all his devotees. And then he explains the position of the jiva. That the jiva is actually a marginal living entity between the spiritual and material potencies, and that jiva has been temporarily covered over by Maya and doesn't understand his real position. But the jiva can achieve liberation by associating with the devotees. And then he explains that actually the jiva and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are one simultaneously, one and different. And then he explains avideya, that the real relationship of all of us with Krishna is devotional service. We serve Krishna, we offer our service to Krishna. And then he explains prayojana, the goal, everyone's goal. What is our goal? To develop Krishna prema, pure love of God, which has 9 different developing stages, which we won't go into right now, it's very technical. But the point is that this is the same, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur takes this from this particular analysis from the pastime of Lord Chaitanya offering his prayers to Lord Jagannath. That first he establishes the position of the Supreme Lord, then he establishes the humility of the devotee, who is Sarvapade Vinirmuktam, who is free from all designations. He frees himself from all these designations. Now Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as Srila Prabhupada said again and again, was and is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he acted as a perfect sannyasi. But yet he's saying before Lord Jagannath that I'm not a sannyasi. So what is he? Is he a sannyasi? Is he isn't? No. When he's in with society, just like we're in society right now, we're trying to ascend to the platform of Krishna consciousness by Lord Jagannath's mercy. And therefore, we have these designations. Some are Brahmanas, some are Vaishyas, some are Shudras, some are Kshatriyas. No. Although Srila Prabhupada said we should all understand Brahminical culture and try to develop Brahminical culture within our hearts, just as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu converted Srila Haridas Thakur into a topmost Brahmin. Of course, he just happens to be Lord Brahma. We might not be quite so qualified. But still, Lord Chaitanya's mercy is so great that he can bring us to that platform. So Lord Jagannath is that particular person. And when Swarup Damodar heard about this poem, he was reluctant. So then Gopinath Acharya kept coming every day. Please, please, you must hear this poem. Lord Chaitanya must hear this poem. I said, all right. I said, bring him here. So he brought the Bengali poet, and all the devotees were sitting around, and he began to recite it. And in the first verse, he said, I offer my prayers to Lord Jagannath, who is the wooden body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the soul of Jagannath. And Swarup Damodar said, right away, stop. No, scream. And sometimes Srila Prabhupada would do that. When he sees the devotee was off, he would say, stop. And his lip would be quivering. As his devotee is not quite on. Stop this. He said, you have insulted Lord Jagannath and you have insulted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You are saying that the transcendental body of Lord Jagannath is simply wood. And you are saying that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just like some ordinary jiva residing in some body. So therefore you have perfectly offended the Supreme Lord in 2 different forms, and therefore you are a fit candidate for hell. There cannot be any description of how many hells you will have to go to. This poet was like practically leaving his body. And sometimes the arguments of these acharyas, like especially Jiva Goswami, were so powerful that they had to be careful that their arguments would not cause somebody to leave their body. Very, very powerful. Actually, it says in Chaitanya Charitamrita and also in Bhagavatam that harsh words, just like in the story of Daksha, that harsh words are more painful than sharp arrows. someone shoots harsh words. So what to speak of those harsh words are coming from Jiva Goswami or Swarup Damodar. So Swarup Damodar chastised him and chastised him. All the devotees were sitting there thinking, this is wonderful. So that also shows us, we may think we're devotees. No. We may consider ourselves devotees. We may be devotees. But what class of devotee? And Srila Prabhupada mentions only a Mahabhagavat devotee can distinguish between what is proper glorification for the Supreme Lord and what is not. Just like one time Srila Prabhupada was in Mayapur, and one of his disciples came with a guitar. He said, I just wrote a poem, a song. Can I play it for you, Srila Prabhupada? So Prabhupada was very accommodating. You know? He had so many things to do, but he sat there and listened to the devotee play his little song. And he said, so Srila Prabhupada, he's waiting to be, praised, as we often do. We do something, we say something, we're waiting for somebody to say, oh, that was so wonderful. So I said, yes, that is nice. But if you want to learn how to glorify the Lord, then you listen to the bhajans, the songs of Narottam Das Thakur and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Then you will understand how to glorify. They actually understand how to glorify Krishna. And we must learn from them how to glorify Krishna. So, at the end, Swarup Damodar, being a Vaishnava, he was very merciful. He said, so I'm going to give you one alternative to save yourself. You must go and associate with the topmost devotees, Vaishnava devotees, and hear from them, and simply hear from them and serve them. Then by doing so, your offense will be mitigated. And again, you can have the opportunity to serve Lord Jagannath. So the point is that we have to be very careful to see that these leelas that the Lord and His deity form, they're not just some ritual. It's not something we do every day. We go before the deity, we do our rituals, we have our deity at home, we wave some incense at them and some flowers, but we're thinking about something else. No, you're actually having the opportunity to have personal association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Today, He gave us the opportunity to bathe Him and personally interact with Him and be close to Him and touch His transcendental body. And we have to see it in that way. If we want to develop love for Krishna, if we want our chanting to become something that is very solid and occupies every recess of our heart and our consciousness, then we have to be very, very careful that we see, here is Krishna in His Archa Vigraha, in His most merciful manifestation. And who can be more merciful than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Sri Jagannath? Srila Prabhupada said one time that Gaur-Nitai accepts 100% no offenses if you're trying to serve them sincerely. Jagannath, 80%. He accepts, he absolves us of 80% of the offenses. And Radha Krishna, very little. Very little. So with Radha Krishna, you have to be very careful. Actually, Srila Prabhupada said in Miami, he said, so it's very nice that Nityananda and Chaitanya have come here. He said, so you should be very pleased. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is Radha Krishna himself. But, so there is no need for installing Radha and Krishna. That is a very serious thing. Right now, you simply worship Gaur-Nitai, and they will give you the mercy of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. So otherwise, Srila Prabhupada was teaching us how wonderful it is to have this opportunity. Snani Yatra, then in a few more days we'll have Rath Yatra. So we have to take these opportunities of being so close to the Lord as very fond memories. It's like sometimes I see devotees taking pictures. Sometimes hundreds of pictures, I don't know what they do with them. But sometimes they send them to me and it takes me 30 minutes to download them all. But and that's one thing to do. But how could we remember, why do we take these pictures? Because we want to remember Krishna. But what good is it to take a picture if you don't meditate on it? What good does it do? Simply, making some camera seller more wealthy. So also with the deity, when the Lord gives us these opportunities, We have to take this opportunity to come one notch higher in our devotional service. Not that we go and do it and then it's over with. No. Oh yeah, I'll do it again next year. No. We take that opportunity to become closer to Lord Jagannath, to become more intimately connected, and the next time He appears, He gives us His mercy, we come closer and closer and closer until Lord Jagannath is situated within our heart, within our mind, and within our very existence. So this is just some thoughts I have on it. I think now it's time, right, for the arti. So I'll have to stop here. If there's any questions, then we can entertain questions tomorrow in the Bhagavatam class. Hopefully everyone will be here. Jagannath Baladev Subhadeva ki, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki, Shishi Gaurnitai ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki, Nitaya Gaur Premanandi.
Hari Ho.